Hey everybody, my name is Chris Angel. I'm co-host here with Mark Jacobsen. Mark, how are you today?
Good.
Good. It's our
How are
first
you?
episode. I'm good, and it is our first episode of Sound Family Dwelling. I'm excited to dive in with you today.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, I mean, I think we were kind of talking about how to break down the loan process. I think this is a really great first episode to dive into because it hits the home buying process square on with
You bet.
financing. Maybe, and then I think we can kind of break this into two parts. Maybe it turns into more, who knows? But kind of today going through the beginning financing process, and then the next episode kind of diving into what happens once we actually write an offer on the home.
Yeah, sure.
Does that work?
Yeah, that's great.
I love it. I know your background, like you've been in real estate in some capacity for quite a while, right? Including loans.
Since the late 90s. I actually started out doing loans,
Right.
doing mortgage loans. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that we
So,
actually get to have your perspective on financing because of
yeah.
being a lender. Yeah, it's great. I love it. Well, let's just dive right in with the process. Like, let's say I'm a buyer. What's kind of my first step in buying a home?
Well, I'd say the first step is choosing which type of lender is going to work best for you. So typically people will go to a bank,
Yeah.
or they'll go to a mortgage broker,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so, and we can spend a lot of time talking about the differences, but essentially the difference is, your bank is going to, they're great, especially if it's where you have your checking account, your savings account, perhaps
Right.
you have a car loan there or some other type of loan. They know you pretty well.
Yeah.
And they'll have all your information. They'll have a certain set of products that they know will work for you.
Right.
And so that can be really attractive and make it pretty streamlined and easy. I would say the advantage of going to a mortgage broker
Mm-hmm.
is that a mortgage broker is going to have more options for you available because they're not just tied to one bank.
Got it.
Your bank, although their programs may be great, they're going to be typically more the traditional types of mortgage loans that people get.
Yeah.
Conventional loans, FHA loans, VA loans, other types of government loans. But if your qualifications are somewhat unique and non-traditional, then a mortgage broker might be able to help you better because they'll have more options available.
An example of non-traditional would be what, like credit score or self-employed?
Right. Credit score, self-employed, people who maybe they haven't been self-employed for 10 years. They've only been self-employed for 2 or 3 years, and they need something a little more creative to put their deal together.
Right.
A lot of times a mortgage broker will have a lender that specializes in creative types of financing, rather than a bank who's going to be more traditional.
Right.
Yeah.
Are there other benefits to going to a mortgage broker versus a bank in terms of like maybe the consultation that happens or the creativity that happens, anything like that?
Well, there could be. I mean, it's the main benefit are the access to the various options. The pricing and interest rates are very comparable to what a bank would do. There's really nothing that's going to be better or worse.
Right.
Between a bank and a mortgage broker. A lot of people have the misconception that mortgage brokers cost more because they're brokering the deal for you, but that's not true.
Yeah.
They're getting the same interest rates that a bank does brought to them, meaning a bank directly.
Right.
And it actually, in some cases, I found that I was able to get lower rates for people being a mortgage broker because the bank, you go into the bank, they say, all right, our rate today is 4%.
Right.
And that's it.
Right.
But you go to a mortgage broker and they'll say, well, yeah, I mean, your bank's 4%, but I've got this other bank that's 3.875.
Right. So they just have access to more products, right?
That's right.
Yeah. Whereas banks kind of have access to their own products, their own lending products.
That's right.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why it can be beneficial to have a broker because you get access to more products.
Right. Yeah. But I mean, there are benefits to both. And that's why I always encourage people to go see both if they want to. But
is that kind of like
one or the other.
if I'm starting the process, I think sometimes people will say, I don't want to start the process because they're going to check my credit and I don't think they're going to like what they find. And I mean, you feel like that happens or?
Yeah, I think, when I talk to people, and I talk to people a lot, obviously, in
Yeah,
this business,
right.
I find a lot of people disqualify themselves
Mm,
before they even go down the road of looking to purchase a home. And I
yeah.
think that's such a shame because
Mm,
until you go talk to a professional,
yeah.
you're not going to really know. There's that old cliche of, are you going to self-diagnose your own cancer?
Right, right.
Right? No,
Yeah,
you go to a doctor to find out what's wrong with you.
yeah,
The same with getting a mortgage loan and purchasing
yeah,
a home. Go see the professionals who know what they're doing.
yeah.
Go to a mortgage lender, find out where you stand, what you qualify for. You might be surprised that you're
Mm,
exactly where you'd want to be.
right,
Even if you don't, and you find, but I'm not that far away. At least you'll know what you need to do to prepare.
right,
And you might find that you're really far away, but that's fine too, because then you know where you
right.
stand and you know the steps you need to take to get there.
What are some of the biggest things people would see with that from a lender that would say they're not quite ready? Like, what are some of the big flags that come up?
You mean to the lender?
Uh,
What
yeah,
would
to the
tell the
lender
lender?
about the borrower. Like, if I'm the borrower, what
Oh,
would come?
well, there's the obvious one that credit, credit history and credit score are
Yeah,
important things.
yep,
Um, Again, I feel like there are a lot of people are thinking they need to have a super high credit score, and although that's great,
right,
you can have a few dings in your history and still be okay. You can still have a qualifying credit score.
right.
Um, and getting a mortgage, if you're able to purchase a house even with a lower credit score, getting a mortgage actually helps increase your
Yeah,
credit worthiness, and
yeah,
later on you can refinance once your score goes up. But
yeah. That's a good
anyway,
point.
yeah, so credit, I would also say, employment history.
Mm-hmm.
Perhaps you've been in your job for just 8 months
Yeah,
or a
right.
year, and it's a great job, it's stable, you're going to be there for a while, but the lender says, well, we want to see a little more history there.
Mm-hmm.
um, but again, don't disqualify
Right,
yourself.
right.
Go and see the
Yeah.
lender, and so they can tell you how much longer they want you to be in that industry or in that job before they'll give you a mortgage loan.
Will different brokers have different comfort levels of it, like employment history, for example?
Yeah, they will. Some banks and lenders are going to be a lot more
Mm,
conservative
sure.
than others.
Right.
So and that's another advantage of a mortgage broker is
Right.
they'll have uh, uh, um, access to some of those lenders who are a little
Right.
more lenient on that
Right.
employment history. The
Yeah.
other thing would be your assets, how much money you have in the bank saved up for your down payment,
Mm-hmm.
and then also
Yeah.
just what you have, what they call in reserves, and we can talk about
Sure.
more in another show.
Yeah. I think one of the things that I've seen people do a lot. I mean, I've been in this industry for 17 years, and I think one of the things I've seen people do is um, they think, oh, my credit score might not be as good, and so I don't want to get a loan because it's going to cost me more. But if you actually look at some of the markets, the amount of appreciation that people have missed out on, just the net worth they would have from being in a house now versus waiting 2 years, right? They
Yeah.
make way more money if they had bought now and let equity grow, even
Oh
if they
yeah.
paid a little bit more in an interest rate.
Oh yeah. I mean, don't trip over pennies on your way to dollars
Yeah.
is again another
Yep.
one of those cliches.
Mm-hmm. That's good though.
And I mean, but let's face it, if you look at the history of interest rates,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, our parents and grandparents, they were
Right.
buying homes in 12%
Right.
and 12% interest, 13%.
Yeah.
When I got in the business back in the late 90s, everybody was just so excited over 8%.
Yeah.
And then it went down to 7 and people lost their minds.
Yeah.
So to me, anything below 8 is great,
Yeah.
and I didn't mean for that to rhyme, but it did.
Right.
Below 8 is great.
Below
Yeah.
8 is great.
But so when I see people, having problem over 4.5% as opposed to 4% or 3.875, I just think, man,
Yeah.
you're missing out. This 4.5%
Right.
is still a great rate,
Yeah.
historically speaking. And like you said, the appreciation that you're missing out on is,
Right.
that's too bad that you would do that.
Right.
I mean, in this area where I am in this greater Seattle area, some of these neighborhoods, their appreciation over the last year has been over 10%.
Yeah.
Sometimes up to 15.
That's insane.
So yeah,
I mean, on a $500,000 house, that's, $50,000 more in your net worth after 12 months.
right. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean,
And
people would try to get that kind of a raise in their job and be thrilled to have $50,000 extra.
yeah, exactly. So
Yeah, that's amazing. Okay, well, tell me. So I'm a borrower. I finally made up my mind to go talk to a mortgage broker, and I had the conversation. What's kind of the next step? Like, is it like the pre-approval, pre-qualification? Like, what's next in the process?
yeah, so once you've talked to your lender and gone through the application process, you get what's called a pre-qualification or pre-approval.
Mm-hmm.
There's a slight little difference between those two, although they're pretty much synonymous. But in my view, in my mind, a pre-qualification means you've had your credit checked and you've told the lender what your income is, what your job is, and what your assets are. But they
Yep.
haven't verified those things. They've only verified your credit.
Got it.
That's a pre-qualification. That is a lot of instances good enough to submit with your offer.
Okay.
A pre-approval then, it's a little nuance between those two words, qualification and approval. So pre-approval would be where you've had your credit checked and you've submitted your bank statements and your pay stubs or W-2s or tax returns to the lender, and the loan officers looked over it and said, yeah, that's you're good to go. So you get one of those two letters to submit with your offer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would imagine, like, for most people, I think as humans, we try to take the path of least resistance. So like a pre-qual would be like, oh, I'll tell you how much I make and I've been here for this long. Is there a benefit to going the route of pre-approval and actually submitting that paperwork versus just taking the path of least resistance?
Well, the benefit is going to be probably more dictated by the lender. Some lenders may not want to issue a letter, a pre-approval letter, without seeing that first. So they wouldn't even necessarily give you a pre-qualification. I mean, a lot do. It just depends.
Sure.
Yeah. So
I also think if you're going to go out and look for properties, which I think buyers are excited to do, like, that's the fun part. Let's go look at stuff. If you actually find something, and in a hot market, if you find something and you haven't submitted that paperwork yet, sometimes sellers won't look at your offers when there are other offers being presented.
Yeah.
That do have pre-approval. So if you're the one without the pre-approval,
you're at the bottom of the stack. Yeah. When all else fails, offer there. Yeah, definitely. So, to your point, the stronger the pre-approval, the better.
Yeah, I just think it makes sense
as the buyer. Yeah.
To have that. I mean, one of the most frustrating parts as an agent was, when you'd start working with clients and then they hadn't gotten the lender all their paperwork. And so we'd write an offer, but the lender was like, I kind of my hands are tied. I can't really move things along the process because I don't have all the paperwork.
Yeah. That does make it difficult in presenting your offer if you don't have at least something that says that you've made the effort and the loan officer is willing to issue you that letter.
Yeah. I just think it's a good idea to start having the conversation. If you want to buy in the next 6 to 12 months, I don't think you have to be like, I want to buy tomorrow. I think you can have this kind of a conversation with the lender. 6 months? I mean, what do you think? 6 months out? How soon can I have this conversation with the lender?
Oh, well, as soon as possible. I mean, if you want to buy next year, I mean, we're in April of 2018 now. If you want to buy next year, you go talk to a lender now.
Yeah.
Again, just
Right.
so you know where you stand and what you're going to need to do to prepare.
Right.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be, the week before you want to buy something, or
Right.
the month before.
Yeah.
Start now.
Yeah.
Don't wait.
I think that's a
Yeah.
good education process, having like just the act of having that conversation with the lender. You start to tune your brain to the conversation, and you start thinking differently, and you might make some different financial decisions. But yeah, if you're 6 to 12 months out, like, you should go have that conversation now.
Yeah, you
Sure.
should. And you know what, Chris? I've seen it a time or two where somebody does do that,
Mm-hmm.
and lo and behold, they're thinking, oh, well, we're going to buy in 8 months or a year,
Right.
but they go and they start to prepare, and lo and behold, they find their dream home a few weeks after that, because they found out they were actually ready
Yeah. Yep.
now, and
Yep.
they found something, and they're totally happy. So
Yeah.
anyway, yeah, I would just say go talk to somebody now and try to figure out where you stand and what you need to do.
I would imagine if people don't have a contact for a lender, that you could be a resource for them in that. If they're like, well, Mark, who should I use?
Yeah, you
Do you have
bet. And
some?
yeah, anybody can contact me. Just
Yeah.
email me at seattlehomes2010@gmail.com. Again, that's Seattle Homes, HOMES, 2010@gmail.com. And I'm happy to provide you with a couple of referrals of people you can go talk to.
Awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
So we're kind of at the spot where we've got our pre-approval process. And once we have that, we can kind of go out and start. I feel good about shopping for, looking at houses. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yep,
Good.
definitely.
And then
Yeah.
once we do that, we move into like the next step in looking at houses then is what's the next step?
Well, determining which one you want.
which
and
one can I buy?
and making that offer,
Yeah. That's good.
and that's where things get really exciting, is
Yeah.
when you make that offer, and that's that there's that anticipation of
Yep.
getting it accepted and going through that negotiating process. And
And there's a
it's
lot of
fun.
stuff that happens behind the
Yeah.
scenes once you get there. And so I'm excited,
Yep.
probably in episode 2 here, to kind of take people through what happens behind the scenes with the financing, because there's so much that I think people just don't even know.
Oh yeah.
So
That'd be great.
yeah,
Love to do
I
that.
definitely want to do that in episode 2. So in summary, like, if you had to think about any last minute wisdom for people around the financing, getting started in the financing, what would you say? Anything come to mind?
Well, I would say, again, just start having the conversations.
Yeah.
Send me an email, again, seattlehomes2010@gmail.com. Tell me what your thoughts are, what you're trying to do, what you'd like to do, and then I can direct you to other people you may want to talk to if needed.
Awesome.
But yeah, again, just start having the conversation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that. It's great. Mark, it's a good episode. I love our conversation today. I'm looking forward to our next one. Thanks for a great first episode of Sound Family Dwelling.
Yeah.
I'm going to work on that. Sound Family Dwelling. Hey, next episode, let's talk about the origin of that name, because I want people to hear what it all means. And
Oh, you bet. Yeah, that's a lot of
I like
fun.
how you came up with the name. So.
All right.
All right. Good episode, Mark. We'll see you in the next one.
Thanks, Chris.
Bye.